All right, thank you. Welcome to the Nesquin Community Plan Steering Subcommittee, Subcommittee of the Citizen Advisory Committee. Um, Today is, or not today. Uh, so we have a couple guests. Christy Garner is here, and Chris Laity was here and will continue to be once he sits down. Uh, So, Chris, the members of the committee on are
And
Lynn
Sarah,
Saxton, pardon me.
and Sarah.
Sarah's not here
Oh,
yet.
yes, she is.
Oh, she is? Okay, I can't. Maybe I should close the chat because I can't see everyone.
Hi guys. Yep, I'm here. I'm just getting settled in and I'll be right with you.
Okay, thank you. So, Chris and members of the committee that are here are Lynn Saxton, Lori Kovac, Tom Seep, and we expect Guy Sievert and myself, Randall Cook. So Sarah Absher's here also as a guest. And uh, so I'm going to ask the committee if they would approve today's agenda. To get approval of the agenda subcommittee.
Yes, I say
And
yes.
Yep.
Tom?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So we've done that. And if you've reviewed the minutes of the January 5th meeting, we'd like approval of those minutes if you are willing to approve them.
So moved.
Approved.
Approve.
Okay, thank you. And a declaration of the no conflict of interest by subcommittee members, if you don't have a conflict.
No conflict.
No conflict.
No conflict.
Okay, thank you. And okay, today is opportunity to review the newest draft, and apparently most of that was my edit of a section. And Tom, maybe you can explain better why that didn't really work to put it in the plan.
Well,
Too raw?
Rand,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a point of order here before Tom starts us.
Okay,
Rand and I had exchanged a discussion after the last meeting. AI took the minutes of the last meeting because my new computer was not connecting successfully to the system. And once I saw those minutes and realized kind of where we are in the stage of this, where we're producing a document and there's a record of the document, there's a record of the meetings, my recommendation with to Rand was to forego the kind of formal minutes and just use the AI example, because what we're doing is if and we had talked previously about having minutes that just discussed actions, but the actions are all occurring in the document now. And moreover, if there are any issues about this product when it's in its draft form, once we submit it, the transcript becomes the record, not the minutes. It's a publicly distributed transcript. So that was my recommendation. I'm not trying to slack on work. Um, I thought the AI minutes were spot on. I think all of us need to be aware that both these meetings um, are being recorded, and so they're a matter of public record. And those minutes that are very, very close to these actual meetings. I reviewed the AI review after the meeting, and it was spot on. And so, and I can't remember if I made a spelling correction or something, but that's where we are. And before we proceed, I want to be clear on that because my intent, my hope, is to not take minutes.
well,
okay.
my opinion on that is that it is very important to highlight what action items are to be done. I don't
Mhm.
care if there's anything else in the minutes other than that, other than action items need to be brought to the fore. That way
Okay.
you can make sure that they get acted upon.
Yep.
That's my care about.
And so, Ran, I'm happy to just make a list of action items to act on. And that's supplemented with the AI minutes and I can send that to you and Tom immediately after the meeting. And that meets the requirement.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, well, I guess my two bits is that if you're going to go to the trouble of doing that and the only issues we usually have with the AI minutes is the spelling of Nescoin seems to be the biggest problem. Uh, if you could take care of that, then I wouldn't have another thing that I'm supposed to do that I was hoping someone else would take on. And you were doing a great job as it was. So if I will send you the AI minutes, you can either integrate or have at the front of it the actions required.
Perfect.
And if you could just correct the spelling, that would be great. And then if you want to do that directly back to the members, otherwise you can send it back to me, but
Okay.
it could just go to the members and then.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Will do.
wonderful. That's
Thank
great
you.
housekeeping. Thank you.
Did I just weigh in on that? I realize I'm just a
Sure,
guest.
Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think this is great, Lynn, using the AI. I'm just wondering if you could add in the attendees. I think the AI captured the date, the time, just some of those kinds of things. It's actually has more in there than necessary. As long as you're reviewing and making sure it's accurate and the action items are accurate, I think that's great. But I think it's important to have the attendees listed.
And
So
I'm looking, Lynn, this might take care of it. I'm looking at my little monitor of the AI stuff and it lists the attendance so far. So it may be doing that, but
Well, when
I
I looked at the
will,
minutes earlier, I saw that different first names were mentioned, but there wasn't a list of who attended with their last names.
I may have turned it on after the beginning of the meeting, but we will make sure to include the included guests and committee members.
So I think that's great. And I also think that Ran, and this again is a housekeeping thing that makes AI use more effective. And particularly when we have people who are unidentified, or at least their name is there, but we don't have any picture of them for the meeting, etc. For AI, we should just go around at the beginning with everyone on the call. And they should give their first and last name. And I'll make sure it's correct in the minutes or in the list as well.
Okay, so Nancy Vandell was the only one whose name I haven't spoken out.
You got
so
Christy
far.
Gardner as also.
Did she go off?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did list her. I did mention her
Sorry.
because at that point she and Chris were the only guests, and now Nancy and Sarah have. Okay, we will.
Great. Thank you.
We
Sorry
will
to
do that.
interrupt.
No,
Thank you. No, that was an important point to get down early. So, Tom was just about to explain, well, or help me understand why what I sent him didn't work, but that can be brief, so we can just get right back on it.
Okay, so what the problem is that we're making changes to changes to changes,
Yes.
and that's too deep. We can do single level changes and indicate where they came from. I added some comments, but it starts getting really, really messy when you have comments on top of comments on top of comments. So I elected not to try to integrate that because we want to look at stuff in parallel.
Right.
So that's what I have on my screen now.
Okay.
I did, when I did the update on R35, I did change, or I updated the introduction part of it. I would rather not cover those first, since we have guests who are specifically here for a purpose, so that we could cover that area first. That would be my preference.
To not cover that area first. Yes.
Do not get the introductory stuff. We can do that on our own.
Okay, sounds good.
With the guests here who have expertise, and we should take advantage.
Okay, and Sarah has her hand up, so Sarah, please weigh in.
Thank you, Ran. So hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. Couple of things. The reason why you have not seen language in the community plan policy specifically from pages 14 to 18 that are transportation related is because Chris Lady and I are still working on those. We want to come up with policies that we both agree with that are appropriate for this land use document before pitching those to all of you. So I want to make sure we're on solid footing before we give you all something to react and respond to. Second, Randall, I really appreciate the policy statements you put together in that second document. And I asked Chris if he had time to be with us because while I think these are important, these are not, in my opinion, something that would go in the community plan as a land use document, but I think that there is a place for them. So I think that is something for us to talk about. And with that, maybe it would benefit the group at large to hear from Chris and maybe do a little Q&A so that we can all better understand just some of the inner workings of public works and those relationships with communities so that we're also aware of roles and responsibilities, what can happen and where there might be some limitations or challenges. So just wanted, but I do appreciate the work you put into this. I think it belongs somewhere. I think we need to figure out where.
Yes, and I'm the first to admit I'm not a policy writer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I think there's some good stuff in here.
I
So-
respectfully disagree. I thought it was very well written, Rand. So don't be
okay.
Okay.
Well, let's move on then. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that kind of, I think that's got to be the first order of business is hearing from Chris, because the exact things that are, I was about to queue up are the things that Chris is going to talk about. So.
And Chris has seen the document? Okay, good. Because we've had
skimming
Chris-
through them rapidly.
Okay, well, you and I have spoken over the years at various times, so they kind of reflect conversations we've had. But again, we have to figure out what's appropriate for this document.
Okay, I can put that on the screen, put the latest version on the screen if that would be helpful.
That would be. While you're doing that, I want to, we do have a transportation system plan update. It takes place once every 20 years, includes the rural Tillamook County and unincorporated communities, of which we've had, there's another, we just picked the date this morning, actually. So on April 8th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock will be an open house online meeting to talk about transportation system planning specific to Neskowin. So this would be one location in particular to talk about the egress route and the interaction with the wayside. The other one that would be a great location to bring up in that would be parking management. That's one of the things that I've really stressed to the consultants with that. It's going to look a little odd because it is 100% funded by ODOT. ODOT hired a consultant, and we are working, collaborating with ODOT and the consultant on a county-owned plan. So it's not specific to Neskowin, but Neskowin has its own carve-out, just like we have a couple other communities that have their own carve-out. So on-street parking is during the summer very difficult at best. A lot of interactions with pedestrians, kids, parking. Everybody comes out there, especially on the busy weekends, but honestly, anytime it's sunny day out there, not unique to Neskowin. So I've asked the planning team to start looking at some of the ways we can mitigate that. And in the planning document, there's some of the things that are in the land use document that are actually better put into the transportation system plan policy. Not so much a policy, but a plan. And this would include the egress route. This includes parking on street, because how do we navigate parking? So parking is typically not a land use, as it's a function of right-of-way. Some language in there that, it's like the roads aren't dedicated for children to play, but yes, riding a bicycle. So there's some nuances in the language that would need to be addressed. But I can talk some of the specifics. There's good things in the documents. I think that the
Hey, Chris.
more specifics would need to go through it. Yes, sir.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but just so everybody gets, just to wrap up what you just said, there's the community plan for Neskowin, which is a land use document. It's embedded in the county's comprehensive plan. It is used when we look at conditional uses, zone change, map amendment, code amendments. what Chris is also talking about is the county's overall transportation plan. So when he says plan, what he might be referring to is that plan, which is separate and independent, and
Thank you.
and is informed by communities and land use, but they're two separate documents. So going back to what I said about Randall's good work, there are places for these pieces. What we have to work together to figure out is, do some of them, are they more appropriate in Chris's transportation plan, or are they more appropriate in the county's and in the community's comprehensive and community plan? So I think, Chris, as we talk about this, we definitely want to make sure we're helping everybody have the right hat on for what plan we're talking about.
Absolutely. I'll try to be specific with transportation plan versus this plan. So I'll be very specific with transportation plan. So a lot of this stuff that's in there, some of the things that there appear to be more vision and values of type of things from that, which do apply with the transportation plan. And some of these may be appropriate in this type of document. Concern that I have, and this is just very broad and generic, is if it goes into this plan, it basically it could have unintended consequences, depending on, because this is really more of a legal type of document as opposed to a vision and a goal document, is things change fairly quickly. So you look at the egress route, went through a number of name changes in order to build it in its current capacity. The funding mechanisms came from as an egress route. It was never an egress route. It was a road, and then it became a trail, and then it became an egress route. Why did it become an egress route? Because that's where the money came from. So if the plan was written differently, we may not have been able to get it funded as an egress route. So there are some things in a visioning and a goal-oriented that are great. But if you go into this type of plan, being quasi-judicial, am I using the right word, Sarah? I'm hoping so. It does, there we go, thank you. It does impose certain limitations that are not necessarily really what the intent of this is, at least from the road side of it. So that's kind of some of the big broad overview. A couple of things that I wanted to look at there. The difference between, I'm not entirely sure what a road association is. I don't know if that's specific to Nescoin. Go ahead, Lynn.
No, I don't want to interrupt. I want to let you finish, but at some point when it's convenient for you, I just have two questions, but I don't keep going.
Okay. Road association, I'm not sure what they are. If that's defined in your document someplace, I've never heard that term. Usually I talk about road districts, which is a formal term identified in ORS. There's other community groups, which is probably what you mean by road association. The name road association seems to me to imply some type of a legal structure, which the Midnight Pavers is not a legal structure, right? And that's probably what you meant by road association. Community group, some type of verbiage change I think would be appropriate there. When we, so I think a lot from the transportation system plan, that plan, the input from this group into that plan, which is intended to identify problems and intended to identify some solutions. They make recommendations for projects. One thing that's going to come out of that, I'm hoping, is parking improvements and the egress route. Those are two things. And that's, how do we deal with pedestrians and all the pedestrians and the vehicles that are parked on the road without taking away somebody's ability to park, right? If they own a house there, where do they park? So it needs to be looked at it from, a broader perspective. And some of the language that goes in here could be cherry picked and then put into other community plans. So we want to make sure that whatever language is in here is also appropriate elsewhere. Okay, Lynn.
Okay, two quick questions. How does the transportation plan, thank you for that clarity, how does that relate to the governor's budget given the pullback of the transportation budget?
So that's I'm going to start with a little bit on how our roads are funded, county roads are funded. So our county roads are funded by the gas tax is number one, then the transient lodging tax number two, and then there's other things that really don't amount too much. So we get funded by how many registered vehicles are in the county. So if your vehicle is not registered in the county, we are not getting road money from that. We don't get property taxes. So if your vehicle is not registered in the county and you don't rent your house out as a short-term rental, you're not contributing to the county road system. So that's really the fundamental two sources. We don't get property tax. The general fund, Sarah's budget, does not get any gas tax. So our budgets do not intertwine. So when you look at that, it's the gas tax that was going through there. So all the way across the state, gas tax is collected. It goes into Salem. Salem at that point says 50% of that goes to ODOT, 30% goes to counties, and 20% goes to cities. At the county level, it's divvied up amongst all the, based on the number of registered vehicles. Farm vehicles interact with that too. I'm a little oversimplistic, but we're talking 95% of the money. So with that, when you look at the 33,000 vehicles or 37,000 vehicles that are registered in Tillamook County as fiscal year 24, $3 million budget, every vehicle that's registered in the county contributes $80 a year. So, all that adds up. So the TLT was significant. So when the supermajority passed the gas tax, the transportation system, plan, the raising of the taxes, that would have generated $1 million into the county road fund.
Okay.
Didn't pass, or obviously it passed, but we're going to go through the referendum and that process, which is going to be, who knows where we're going to end up at. The TLT becomes another significant one, where rightfully so, in my opinion, is at some point there was a cap that got instituted because I've got a lot of employees that need to live places. So the cap was good because I needed people to live places, but that's a big source of revenue for me. That's 1/3 of my budget is TLT revenue. So, and the TLT has been ongoing since 2014 or 15. So it's been steadily increasing. We're kind of capped right now because we're not really seeing any additional revenue because of that cap coming in. We don't really project to see anymore. Everything increases in cost. Asphalt increases. We haven't seen a climb in our gas tax. Actually dropped a little bit over time, but inflation has continued to skyrocket. And construction inflation is different than normal inflation. Construction inflation is usually about 7%. Normal inflation might be sitting about 3 or 4%. So construction always costs more money. So that's kind of the big overview on how we're funded. With what's happening at the governor doesn't actually impact us. With all this, it impacts us only in the fact that we're not getting money that we never got before.
Right.
It would have given us money, but all the cuts that ODOT are looking at doing, we've already cut. So we went razor thin. We used to run 50 different people, or 50 people were in the road department. And from a road maintenance, we ran 3 crews. At one point, we actually had 5 crews. We run 2 crews. The South County crew goes from Highway 6 all the way to Lincoln County, and that is currently at 5 people. And the North County goes from Highway 6 all the way up to the Clatsop County line, and that also has 5 people. And you throw in 2 foremen on top of that, but they're also looking at different things. So staffing becomes an issue. But throw $1 million into the mix, that allows me to staff up a little better. It allows it easier for us to go out there and participate and do more work that we have not been able to get to. Does that very high level overview, Lynn?
That's perfect. And where do the federal monies land?
The federal money, the feds have not increased their gas tax since 1993.
All right.
So the federal gas tax is, we get, I think about $300,000 from federal gas tax.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what we do get is we go after, and Guy would know pretty well with this one, is a good and a bad thing is that we have a lot of coho, which is a threatened and endangered species along the coast. So we have one bridge for every 2.8 miles of road, and we have 4,000 culverts. The entire state of Oregon, ODOT manages 40,000 culverts. We manage 4,000 culverts. And a lot of those larger ones are, the larger ones are streams and they carry coho, right? So the coho ones, we are able to go after grants and secure the grant money. So working with the watershed groups, Tillamook Estuary Partners, Trout Unlimited, We're able to be very successful with that. So the federal money that comes in to support those aging, rusting culverts that are really bad shape, we need to provide a match to it. So the federal money that we bring in oftentimes has a match that's taking away from something else. It's great we're getting federal money in, but Sand Lake Road. So Sand Lake Road, that slid just on the between Terrell Del Mar and Pacific City. If you haven't been that way in a while, it's still single lane with single signals on either side of that. That's got federal money involved in it. If it hadn't slid, we wouldn't have to come up with 10% to fix it. Federal highway is 10%. FEMA is 25%.
Okay.
So most of the federal money that we received is in the way of grants or storm damage. All that has a match. So it's great we're getting federal money. Downside is that we have to have a match to go with it.
Yep.
All the time we're getting federal grant money because we need it. This last storm, between December 9th and right at the end of December, the road suffered about $9 million worth of damages. I actually meet with FEMA tomorrow afternoon to talk about how do we fund some of these things.
Yep. Okay. Very clear, very helpful. Thank you. That answered my 2 questions. Thank
Okay.
you.
Other questions, and we can certainly dive. I mean, that was kind of a very broad overview of what we're looking at. Federal timber, we also get federal timber. That would be our 3rd largest source, and that generates about $450,000. We actually, it used to be $8 million. Now it's $450,000. That used to be our number 1 revenue source. That was uninflated numbers, so not inflation adjusted, $8 million back in the early 90s. Non-inflation. So you inflate that up to today, that's significantly more than $8 million. So $450,000 is what we get. So when you look at timber, so the general fund gets state timber dollars. So that's what helps to fund the general fund, including Sarah's budget. The road department does not get state timber. The road department gets federal timber. If you hear the term secure rural schools, it's federal timber dollars that comes in. That money is specific to roads. So that's where that money comes from. And that was based on the amount of timber that was cut. So that's 450. So we got about $3 million from the state highway fund. We got $2 million from TLT and 450,000 from the timber sales. Of that $1 million, so the gas tax is $3 million. Our just paying our salary is $3.4 million, just to pay the people that we have. So the $3 million does not get us very far. In similar vein, when you look at, because we're heavily based on the number of registered vehicles in the county, which is how we get our money. You go down to Lincoln County or Clatsop County, our neighbors to the north and south. They have fewer miles of road, fewer bridges, and fewer culverts by a lot. I think Clatsop County has half the number of bridges that we have, and Lincoln County is almost half the number of bridges we have. There's a lot more residents, so their revenue stream is more than double ours, although we have more roads and bridges and culverts that we have to deal with. So it kind of explains it. And then when we had a staff of 50 people, we were taking care of roads that weren't even ours, which gets me into a little bit of how we identify things. We have county roads are county our local act. So you have county maintained roads, which are the roads required for us to maintain, and we have local access roads. Local access road by board order and state law basically says we don't have to maintain them. When we started seeing the timber decline on that is the board had flat out says you can't work on a local access road unless the board grants permission to do so. This had to do with the number of storms that we saw and lack of federal timber dollars. So as that was coming up, the board of county commissioners put a halt to spending money on local access roads. We are never to. They're still county roads. They're not county maintained roads. So we have jurisdiction over those. And when you look at countywide, we have 368 miles of road in our network, 14 miles of which are local access roads. They're gravel and paved. So we had paved a lot of stuff back in the day because we had the money. We had our own asphalt plant. We had our own quarries. We sold quarries off. We sold our asphalt plant. We really skinnied down, and we're been paying the price for it ever since. We're gaining ground. We're gaining significant ground with the TLT that passed. That's really allowed us. $1 million of that is going straight into paving. So it's been a significant boost to us. So as most counties are declining in their, and ODOT is really going to start declining on their pavement condition, our pavement conditions are going up. We're about the only county that's out there that's actually seen our pavement conditions go up, even though we still have more storms than everybody else. So we have more storms than everybody else, but TLT has really allowed us to climb in our pavement conditions. You're
Thank you.
thinking hard.
Yeah, that's well, so over the years I've tried to pitch what I heard from you, which was not as elaborate as what you just explained, and that was very specific and appreciated, but it has been clear to a few of us down here that if we collaborate with you, we can get more done. And so I included things in here that are probably present practices, but I don't know how they probably need to be generalized as we are always looking to collaborate with the county and leave it at that. That maybe is more of a policy, rather than
I
get
think,
specific about how to do that.
again, we get into goals and visions, and
Uh-huh.
I think those kind of truly fit under the visioning statement. So this is why from, it's the lack of staff is, so when we did the paving, we bought all the asphalt for what all the current paving that happened, and the midnight pavers, whatever we want to call them, they did all the work with a lot of volunteers out there, and that turned out to be a huge success. We didn't have the staff to do it. You guys had the labor, and when we hired contractors, it cost us more money than you, because for a variety of reasons, we won't get into that. But that allowed us to effectively double our money. So we paved a lot there. That allowed money to be paved elsewhere. So the cost that we also have limited daylight during the summer for us to pave. So it's a win-win-win. One of the things we start getting into, and this comes down to relationships and contracts. We had a contract with Road and Driveway to buy their asphalt. So contractual, we are really pushing the gray area in what we did in that area. So can we continue in the future to do something similar is questionable. Currently, we've operated the gray area quite a bit, but these partnerships are huge. There's some things we can work with you on, some things we can't.
So one of the things, Chris, that I'm very, I want to be clear about is that Nescoin is a community that for a long, it's just a lot of people who are very used to the community taking on responsibility things and doing it. We bought
Yep.
the golf course. We still have a whale on the beach, but I would bet you if that whale's there much longer, that a bunch of people do something about it. I'm not even
Right.
sure. I'm not even sure what that is.
No dynamite.
Yeah, no dynamite.
We'll
No,
get a video on it.
yeah. But I think the thing that we in the community plan are responsible to do for the land use process is to set an expectation. And certainly we can set some aspirations too. Like we've talked about, there are people on this committee that are very concerned about South Beach being able to access the village and the concern about getting across 101 for the farmers market. I mean, I think we want to be clear in this document what the community is interested in having available to the residents of the community, setting the vision. The transportation, all the transportation stuff right now is just so it requires a lot of expertise, and I am not a transportation expert at all. And so, but part of what I think at a minimum the community should say is, and I'm sensitive to the issue that, for example, cars not registered here don't contribute to roads, right? So that raises the question for me as a responsible taxpayer. Okay, I'm in Nesco probably 25 to 33% of the year. And I have usually only one car plus 6 bicycles. Not for me, but for the whole crew. So what is it that I should be doing to support those roads if we're in this situation? So I guess the thing to me that's most critical is the community wants to help solve problems,
Right.
and we're committed to that, and I think we're a good faith actor in that space. What we can't do, however, though, is just um, either say that because the laws are the way they are on the state books, there's nothing we can do about them. We're all, we don't believe in that. We can change the laws. We're people who reside here, but to me, it's like we want to solve the problem. We don't want to put on band-aids. We don't want to come short on vision. We're not transportation engineers or experts. And I think what you've seen with the midnight pavers is people just, okay, let's just pave the street. We can do it. How do we pave the street? And I think if we just step back from the difficulties that are being faced in the public interface these days, um, and think about how we can be good citizens. I think what good citizens need to do is be involved in solving the problem, and they need to be involved in the not in the detail, but in the state setting policies for how they land in our communities. And I think that is something that we should say in the community plan. I don't, the legislature's 45 minutes from here. And we can be a voice there, and we can propose, anyone in the community can propose solutions that may not even have been thought of by the Department of Transportation or
Sure.
by you or by anyone else. Things other states have done to resolve these kinds of issues, particularly in coastal areas where they tend to be, it varies from which coast you're on, but they tend to be really serious transportation issues. So I offer that not as as a solution, but I think this community plan needs to say that is that we have an expectation. Um, we have an expectation that the state will be broad-minded and 21st century in its orientation to solving these issues. And if something needs to be relooked at, the state and the county will relook at it. I.e., if you're at the beach for 30% of the year, maybe you can help with those, what are they called? The registered car issues. But
Mhm.
but we don't expect to just be shoehorned into laws that were set up when there was a raging timber industry in Oregon, which no longer exists and no longer will exist.
Right.
And so we don't want band-aid solutions. So that's what I feel we owe as a community. We need to roll up our sleeves. We need to help, but we also need to be talking to the people who are making these decisions and saying, we've got our fingers in as many dikes as we can, and we'd like you to rethink this problem. We'd like you to think about how many EV cars are on the road, if that matters, and the gas tax doesn't. So, I mean, maybe the gas tax is collected from EV people too. Um, I have an EV, so if I don't know, I haven't got my taxes on
Part
EV.
of the gas tax is your registration vehicle fee. So before they started increasing the registration fee on the EVs, they're still contributing, just not to the extent that they were after they raised the registration fee. So gas tax is gas. It's your registration vehicle fees. On bicycles now, you buy a bike over $750 or $1,000. I can't remember what it is. You contribute a little bit to it. So I would say the number one thing by far, these rural coastal communities that get inundated through the summer months, is to help Representative Javity, who is trying to change the TLT split. So all the revenue streams that are coming in from TLT, which is our new timber industry, I mean, bar none, it's our new timber industry,
Yep.
is 30% of that the commissioners have, they can do with what they want. We're the only road department that's out there that gets all 30%.
Interesting.
So the 70% has to go towards tourism. So what Representative Javity is looking at doing, and it's been lobbied for a long time, and it's not just, roads, it's the sheriff's office, it's everything else, is to flip that, either that 70-30 split, which is out there, is change that to a 50-50 or a 30-70, so that the commissioners have more authority to fund services like the sheriff's department, which is, everybody needs that as well. But the general fund is just not keeping up. The gas tax isn't keeping up. What is keeping up is the TOT. How do you use that money is subject by state law, and that law can get changed. What I wanted to get into also in your comment about, where is the source document for that? When you look at the community plan, it's quasi judicial, so the language matters. Right. So when somebody wants to do something, it is, had some of that language been in the plan, we may not have been able to fund the egress route. So if that was in a visioning or a commission goals, vision, whatever type of document that was there, that would give us more flexibility. So when we go after grants, and that one was actually is funded, I think 14 different people, funding sources came into that. That got funded through a special line item in the state budget for tsunami egress route. But we go after grants all the time, and oddly enough, as public entity, we are probably half of our money that goes towards projects is grant. Right? Maybe not half, but we'll go after $1, $2, $3 million every year. Mostly coho, because that's our biggest issue. Our biggest threat are culverts. But if it's in a plan that limits my ability to do that, we just put handcuffs on the opportunity. But the plan is broad enough, that is now language I can use to put into a grant and supports that better. In the transportation system plan, now we're talking about the transportation side of it. Some of this language is really good to go into that. It's still a plan, and it is a, how do we deal with the parking? Huge issue, not just in Nescoin, it's in Oceanside, Neat Tarts, Pacific City, every coastal community has the same problem. Neoconi, which is just north of Manzanita, all have the same problem during the summer. The transportation system plan, there are mechanisms in which to solve it. Right? It's introducing some one-way roads. So if you drive one way, you don't have cars driving the other way. You just freed up space. That gives some ability for pedestrians or bicycles to walk on, or to ride their bikes on. That's one way in which you can do that. People still can park on both sides of the road. You just no longer need 2 lanes. So there are mechanisms in there in the transportation system plan that can be discussed. Tom.
I hear you in terms of some of the stuff we have in there doesn't belong there. We would like to have, I think, a place for it to go. So how do we do that? Do we need a separate effort to make a transportation recommendation? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like maybe that's a Sarah question as you went full screen.
Yeah, no, I would love
I
to
think
take that. So things like Chris just brought up, the one-way idea. I think that, so we're in the process of working together on the countywide transportation plan update. Chris mentioned in the beginning, there's going to be a meeting that will be specific to Nescoin this spring with the consulting team that ODOT has hired to help us put this plan together. I think that this group, Chris, and let's see, who in this group is participating in the ODOT transportation system plan update project? So we have some Nescoin folks.
Never heard of it.
I'm
So
not
Chris,
aware.
I think that maybe what we should do is, this is the group, when we have that meeting, that April meeting, it might be beneficial. I'm thinking maybe we send Angela the work that they've been working on, and we have a meeting with Angela. Angela's from the consulting team from that transportation system plan update. Maybe we talk to Angela, Chris, and we can use Randall's document and ask her, in her opinion, what could fit into the transportation plan.
Right.
And what doesn't is we continue to work together to bring something back to this group about then what could go in the community plan, whether it goes in the vision and values section or whether we can take some of this stuff and put it into policies. So I think one of the things that you said that's really important in referring to the Nesquin emergency egress route, where the community plan has value and some punch to it, is when Chris is looking at grants. What we want to be strategic about is putting in transportation policies that support his efforts to get money to do projects in Nesquin. Right. So which policies go in the transportation plan and which ones go in the community plan for that work?
And
Is-
also what language works for your grants? If they're gonna look at the community plan, we need specific language that enables that to be used in the grants. And often that's very specific to the area of, that. So I guess that's enough said about that, but
I can craft what you need. I just need to know what you want.
Has the NCAC been involved in the transportation plan? I mean, aren't they supposed to be the group that is, I mean, we are a subcommittee of them,
Yeah,
but since we have not been involved in it, is there another group from the NCAC that's
that was
involved or
the
who?
chairs.
Yeah, so I sent an email to all of the chairs and it was what, 6, 8 months ago. I know we've got the Nesquin folks on there. I think we need to go back to the attendance list and see who sits on that.
Because
Right.
the chair of the NCAC has changed in
Yeah.
Nesquin due to personal reasons, and the continuity obviously would be really important if I mean, that it seems like an important committee to make sure is actually representing
Yeah.
I
an
think,
organized group that has opinions.
and I
So
think
Mark-
the
yeah.
only two committees are Nancy Vandell, who's here, and myself. We're the only committee chairs
I've
besides.
heard nothing about it. Rand, maybe you and I can bring it up at the executive board meeting on Wednesday and ask, because
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, we've been meeting for a while. I have not been able to jump into all of the meetings, but
They've been
Mark
so
would have been that got the invite.
so we've got a technical side of it. It's the technical side that's really been meeting, and it's a good time to come in because everything to date has really been about collecting data. Right. So how many accidents are out there? So the public meetings, which are about to get kicked off, those get into, it's hearing from the group. So there's a third one that starts, where there's a representative from each of the CACs that
That's
come
the one
in.
I'm talking about.
It's that middle section there where it's kind of broader based, not the technical group. Because you're right, transportation and traffic and roads, I'm a professional engineer and some of these things do require that level of knowledge. But so we'll go through and see who is on the NCAC.
I'm gonna look right now, Chris, because I have that email that I sent to Angela.
So
And there's been what, 3 meetings with the CAC?
I don't even know if we've done 3 yet with the CACs.
So
We're going to start doing more, but I don't even know if we've had 3 yet.
So, Chris, the quick question, just I'm dying of curiosity. You, as a professional engineer, probably know what Tillamook County needs in roads, in what priority, at what cost, almost off the top of your head,
Mhm.
right? There's a right, there's a state of being that is optimal for Tillamook County roads, given that what year it is, the scope of environmental stuff that happens with climate change, et cetera. Does anyone hold all these incremental efforts up against here's where we should be and we are or are not there or are never going to get there? I mean, to me, that's the challenge here is we're in a time where pieces of the road are falling off into the river. And I don't know. I would hope that we get to here's what Tillamook County needs, here's what current level effort's going to get us and when, and here's what we should be thinking about if we really care about where we should actually be as opposed to where we are incrementally managing.
I'm going to share my screen really quick. So once every 2 years, we bring a consultant in that takes a look at, can you see a screen with a bunch of
Yes.
Yes.
bar charts and stuff like that? Once a year, we go through and we have our consultant go out there and look at all of our roads. When they do that, they're also getting a snapshot of every single road. So I can go back in 2008 and tell you what this looked like. It's been great for a lot of reasons. They don't do every single road. Like I said, we have 368 centerline miles of road. There's a lot of gravel roads that we don't go out. This is about pavement. So in the pavement, our neighbors to the north and south are similar size. It's not necessarily north and south. Out of a scale of 0 to 100, the 100 being everything's brand new road, and 0 means we're pretty failed. Pavement condition index, we're at 59. It's a little misleading because these things are studied once every 2 years. So if you go back to, all the way back to 2014, we were sitting at about 45. So we gain, so 2020, we gained 3, which means we're improving our road. 22, we gain another 4 from 22 to 24. We gained 4 more points on a scale of 0 to 100. This is just anticipating a normal decline. If you don't do anything, it's going to decline over a year. So when we go to 26, it'll take into account all the paving that we did in between. It'll take into account, again, we drop about $1 million of asphalt with county doing the work. This it would do $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.3 million. It's a little different right now because of the storm. People ask me, can I get on, what's your paving list for the next 3 years? And my comment is, tell me when the next storm is going to hit. So we have back-to-back storms, and that could change everything. So the answer to that is we are gaining ground, and we're about the only county that's out there that's doing that because of TLT. So we're gaining it.
That's
We're not
cool.
gaining it fast enough. So
Right.
we can go all back to 2014, and again, we're about 45 back then. So we're seeing that gradual increase. It'd be nice to see that. We also look at the remaining service life. I come in here and say it's the local roads that are really, these are your roads. These are the roads that are in the residential local. We're at 50. We need to increase that, but we cannot let the main roads like Sand Lake Road deteriorate. This is where Sand Lake Road is at PCI of 73 pavement condition index. Sand Lake, Miami, Foley, some of our bigger roads, Blaine, etc. We can't let those ones deteriorate too far. So there's a balancing act. It's not the worst road. It's also what is the classification of the road? What is but we also try not to ignore these little roads either. That's why Nesco.
Right.
Let's just throw a bunch
There's
of money in Nesco.
benchmark. This is my favorite picture so far of the new year because there is a benchmark of how we're doing and what is satisfaction or at least adequate, or I don't know how we specify those.
Are we getting better or getting worse?
And Chris, part of it too is you have county maintained roads and local access roads. And I think that's something that often gets confused is there may be roads in really bad shape, but if they're not on the county maintenance list, Lynn, to your point, if there's a road that's, having some erosion issues, it depends, that factors into that process as well.
So here's another view. This is one I have on my desk almost it's up every day. I look at it many times a day. So in Nesco, and anything in orange is the orange and yellow are county roads. Orange roads are county maintained roads. Yellow roads are local access roads. They're county roads, but they're not maintained by the county. Maintenance goes to the local individuals. So some communities, in Tillamook County, there's only one road district. So one of the things that I think would be beneficial for Nescoin is to establish a road district. So this is Three Rivers Ranch. So Three Rivers Ranch, it's actually all local access roads here. But what's different about that, they're the only road district.
Your screen.
Oh, I'll do one more here.
We cannot see your screen. There you
How
go.
about that?
It's coming.
Zoom has one more button I needed to click. So Big Trout is this is the Three Rivers Ranch. It's actually a road district. So they they maintain their own roads. They tax themselves a little bit of money, and they are responsible for their road by gas. They actually create a road district uh, president, vice president, treasurer, etc. Get the tax money goes to the county treasurer, it goes in its own independent fund, and the road district supervisors, managers, board, road district board, identify where to put their money to. They're still bound by state law, but they become kind of a quasi-private road network, even though they're still open to the public, but they're treated like private roads. And this is something that in Neskowin, especially on the other side of Neskowin, where all the roads over there are local access roads, is everything up here is all local access roads. County does not maintain any of those roads up there, but they're public roads and county has jurisdiction, but we don't maintain those roads, which causes a problem.
So one of the things when we look at the transportation plan updates and the community plan updates, maybe a policy or some sort of aspirational statement could talk about the community supporting development of local road districts. And we could specifically call out like Hawk Creek Hills area. We know South Beach has the Road Association, which to your point, Chris, is not a district, but it's an association of residents who voluntarily contribute when they want to maintain
And they're all private.
Right. And so I think, I mean, just to your point and to the ask of what can this committee and the community do as an action, as a set of actionable items to help support work or get the work done for the roads. Maybe we look at some of those policies, and I would ask the group, how do you feel about aspirational statements or policies if we crafted them to look at something general that says the community supports development of
Priorities.
road districts?
Priorities.
Yeah.
So one of the things that opens up
Mhm.
is the political aspects of a road district, a taxing authority, for example.
It is. It's a taxing authority.
Yeah. And
It's like your water district.
in this day and age, that's a political statement. That's something I'm not weighing in on either side, but the community plan should be very careful representing people's position on something like that because it's a tax. And
Agreed.
so I think again, and I'm not saying the community wouldn't, not
Yeah.
taking any position, but the community plans generally do not recommend things that are tax initiatives or tax resulting.
Right. I didn't mention that for inclusion into this.
No, I know.
It was really more of a FYI.
Yep.
But I agree with you. But I would say, priorities and goals, they don't necessarily need to be that specific to be supported by a grant to support a grant. We prioritize pedestrian access along our trail to access the beach. That statement right there allows me to go after money that could be spent towards pedestrians. Should programs not get cut by ODOT, most of those grants are managed by ODOT, comes from federal dollars. Secure Rural Schools, Connect Oregon, things of that nature. Those are some funds that are earmarked for pedestrian type of thing. Don't really fit us, but I think that priorities, what are your values, is an appendix to the community plan, is maybe a great spot for that. These are our stance. This is where our values are.
Well, I'm even wondering just we recognize that in the future, these could be potential strategies to help address road maintenance needs to where you're not taking a position, but like kind of capturing this conversation tonight in terms of, these are things that the community could consider in the future or some sort of appendices that shares the realities of funding and structures that Chris has shared tonight, just kind of that information piece.
Well,
can I ask
to your point, what the community should ask for is for the county to come and present to the community where we are today with transportation, where we're going, your lovely chart, Chris. I love it. Here's where we are, here's where we're going, and here are your options. And have a discussion about where you want to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Because I think the data set that one chart, do I think most people in Nescoin have seen that? I doubt it. And
I
I
know they
think
haven't.
so I think that would be great to, and the CAC is designed if the not us but our who we report to is to be a convener and say, what do you want things to look like 10 years from now? What are the options?
Mhm.
Where's the money going right now? Because that's just people want to know that. How much is taken to get it to where you want it to be? What are the cost of those things, et cetera? I mean, that is definitely something the community plan could recommend is convening around critical needs and having an informed community discussion with data and dollars and a conclusion that is supported by the community.
So,
What?
so
Sorry, Chris.
one of the things Sarah and I have talked about is doing a presentation to the CACs. So while you have a CAC, the road system has the County Roadway Advisory Committee. So CACs are primarily land-based, but not roads. So the County Roadway Advisory Committee is specific to roads. They're my advisory, like the CACs are Sarah's advisors. And we have talked about going on the road and saying, let's go ahead and present this type of information to the public. Interesting, when you start looking at over time, I'll share my screen just one more time because I like pictures. In a graphical sense, this is what the roads look like back in 2022. So red, bad, green, good, right? It's also misleading because this little stretch right there of Hawk is bad shape, but it's an overall perspective of what it looks like. The bridges are blue. That's good. Bridges are red. That's bad. So it's a nice visual for me. It does not include the paving that was done in 2025, right? So it's also subject to the inspector on the ground. They're not walking. There's 360, 200 and almost 300 miles they're walking or they're driving, so they don't get an in-depth analysis on that. But I sidestepped us just a little bit, so I'll go to either Nancy or Sarah as
Oh, sorry.
I'll yield the floor again.
Nancy, go ahead.
I just have a question. This road tax-based group sounds really interesting. So we've had a lot of discussions as we've been developing bylaws and that kind of thing about who would be a member of the NCAC, right? So we have combinations of residents, we have combination of property owners and business owners, and with this other tax group, I mean, do you handle that through property taxes or with the water district? Is it people who rent or use the water? How is that done? Because I would think everybody in Nesquin, regardless of how they're a member of the NCAC, should contribute to
Yeah,
it,
and this
right?
is
Whether they're a resident or not.
It is. It's based on property. So this is maybe a topic for down the road, but a very high level overview. It is a special district, just like a water district. It is. It has a boundary around it, and it's a tax on its personal property tax, regardless of who lives where. Right. It's just based on your property tax. So you add another 3 cents per 1,000 foot. Right. So 3 mil on top of your property, which gives you the ability to maintain roads or it gives you the ability to save up money to do a paving job. However much you want to throw at it, it becomes its own entity, just like a water district, responsible for the roads. You still
It
have to
just
follow
sounds really
state
intriguing.
statutes.
Yeah.
But
Way to
last
handle
one in
this.
Tillamook was 1967, which is the Three Rivers. However, Clatsop County, another reason why their roads are good, they have fewer roads, but a lot of those, there's quite a few of those roads that are in special districts. So they already have their own funding mechanism. So they've got fewer miles of road, they have a lot more money, and they're taking care of even fewer roads because they have these road districts.
Well, and Nesquin North owns the road past the gate that has been maintained by the community very cost effectively for 40 years. And so it's not just a tax option. I think it's looking at what are the options to the challenges we face? How do we get it done? And there are a variety of means of getting it done.
Right.
Sarah?
And I hijacked this whole conversation and I've taken us, and I apologize for the lighting here. I've never really noticed it be that dark, but it's, I kind of hijacked this whole conversation by providing more education. And I know that really wasn't the intent of this meeting. So if we want to get back on track, I know Sarah's got her hand up. So
Chris, can I
Thank
ask?
you.
Can I ask?
We needed the education.
Chris, are local access roads in your overall plan like the last thing that
Gets dealt with,
and you broke up there a little on the backside, guy.
right? But I
whatever?
think he means the last thing that gets dealt with on the list.
They don't get dealt with.
Gravel roads or local access.
Local access roads don't get dealt with. So it's, and this is as the population base of communities changed. We used Nescoin. Nescoin, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Nescoin was always, it was a family vacation getaway. It was families that grew there. It wasn't the TLT revenue. And it was the families, they got together and did a lot of the road maintenance. Even back when we have five road districts, the Nescoin locals just got together and did it. So that is, been a very good thing. So but those days are going by the wayside. The midnight pavers, they're retiring. And there's not another group of people coming in, right? The grandchildren, they're not here. They're not the summer vacations. This is a trend we're seeing not just here, but in Oceanside and Cape Mears and some of these other communities. And it's something that we're kind of missing in society. But the flip side is that, it's people have the decisions to do what they want with their property. From a road maintenance point of view, it is just purely from roadside, those type of community support, which we're getting from Nescoin, it's significant for us. But we also recognize there's only so much that the community can do without bringing in an engineer or bringing in a lot of money to buy asphalt, right? So there's got to be that relationship and that partnership. But those are going to be, as we navigate the contract laws and as contracts change, requirements change, it's where in the gray zone am I and how far do I push it without getting in trouble?
I think as a committee, we need to at least, address the reality. The reality is the county is not able and to maintain our local access roads.
And we won't.
And so periodically we can, they'll give us something if they have it, extra blacktop, whatever. But so I think somewhere in our plan,
Yep.
we have to address that. We don't have to come up with the solution,
Right.
because that we're not that group. I agree with Lynn there. We're not going to recommend that we form a taxing thing, but we certainly need to make the community aware that there are options, and these are the options. You could go the voluntary way. I think, the South Beach gets about 90% participation. They've had a very good, but it takes a lot of work to get that 90%.
Right.
And Tom, you may know something different about that. I'm not a member, but that's what I hear.
Mhm.
And but is that the route we want to go? Is the taxing district? There's a lot of options.
Mhm.
I think as Chris points out, the midnight pavers is nice and a nice story as it is. That's not for the future.
Right.
So part of our committee is to take a look at what's real
Mhm.
and recommend that the community come together under the CAC and really explore this and think about what our future is going to be to maintain our roads. And at Chris's point, I picked up on the idea that there might be ways in which the county can maintain those beach access points, which are also county roads. So you have authority to do that. And then if there is some grant money out there or whatever, you never know, that might be helpful. Right now, we're dependent on TLT money. I wanted to Chris, I don't know how long you're here, but this ODOT committee, one of the things our committee in the community plan has addressed is public safety in various places. We've looked at, the pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic between the different neighborhoods. Some of those are right along 101. It always worries me when I see people walking down 101, riding their bikes with their kids down 101, especially from South Beach to the Village neighborhood. Uh, and we've talked about crossing 101, how dangerous that is, not just during the farmers market, but other times. People exiting the village onto 101, the Slab Creek 101 intersection that has seen so many problems in the past and near accidents that have happened there. Glad whoever patched that hole there by the bridge. Thank God. That was causing some things.
Yeah.
But anyways, so can we and there's a lot of options. You drive through some communities and you see all kinds of options to kind of slow traffic, make traffic aware on a major highway, that there's congestion, there's people walking, crossing, there's all different things we can do. I mean, we all dream about an overhead, some kind of bridge or something, but as like Lynn always points out, that's a little bit unrealistic. Sure, but there's a lot of things ODOT could do, it seems to me. And if that committee is talking about those kinds of things, we should really, that's what our committee's been talking about, how to increase the safety of pedestrians and bicycle riders along 101 between our neighborhoods.
Share another screen while we're talking. So what you're seeing on the screen right here, these are the crashes in that area as reported by the state patrol and the sheriff's office. So part of what they look at when they start doing plans, the discussions or projects on 101 are absolutely part of this plan. It's rural, unincorporated Tillamook County. Unincorporated Tillamook County also includes the highways. So ODOT technical people, projects that come out of this, in the crossings that are down here, I can't, the information that's on here, they will look through, and they have is started identified accident clusters. And I know that if you're coming, it's actually, there we go, a little bit further. As you start coming, northbound, where everybody with the farmers market and all trying to cross there, and you got Slab Creek, you can start to see some of this information. So it's all watered down for me. But that's some of the information that they look at. So it's the raw data, right? This is just how many vehicles are out there. These are the accidents. I don't have anything from 24 onwards because they have to get scrubbed. Because general public can't take a look at to say, well, Bob Smith on this date was, whatever. We can't see that. So there's usually a couple of year lag on that
Which
data.
is always amazing to me, Chris, that they, somebody has to die there so that we can get on the map, and then enough people die in that location.
Yeah.
Anybody who's at the corner of Slab Creek and 101 knows what the issues are.
Yeah.
Anyone who drives between South Beach and the Village on 101, especially during the summer, knows you just really fear. It's so because of the miracle of nothing happening, we don't have to do anything.
And I don't disagree, and I get that at my level too, but we're going to hit ODOT. So do you put your money on an intersection that has 14 fatalities now, or do you put your money at an intersection and you got the same dollar amount?
Yeah.
Do you put it here where they have 14, or do you put it here where they will get it? And that's a tough thing.
And there's ways though, Chris. It doesn't take a lot of money to alert people coming down from Cascade Head going north.
Agreed.
There's a major intersection there, other than just putting that there's a turn. And maybe even putting a sign that reduces speed coming to that intersection. It doesn't take a lot of money to put signs up.
Well, and
Great. Great
But-
ideas for the transportation system plan. So
Right.
back to Sarah.
Well, and I would just say, you guys, we just finalized those community meeting dates today, this morning, literally. So the CAC will be getting an invite. It'll be virtual only. It's going to be from 5:30 to 7. Chris, you said Nescoin is April 5th. Is that right?
I thought it was,
What
that's,
did
I don't
you
think that's the date. Let me verify that date here.
Sarah, who's on that? Who's been part of that?
Well,
Nestle?
I need to go back and look because I was just going through my email and we sent it. I sent the invite to Mark,
Hmm.
and it would have been I think it was 8 months ago or so.
Yeah.
So, like Chris said, there haven't been, like, the stakeholder group is what it's called. There haven't been many meetings. It's been mostly technical, but where the community can really show up and give this really good feedback to these specific matters with ODOT is going to be at that meeting. And it's virtual only. So when is it, Chris?
April 8th, which is a Wednesday from
Yep.
5:30 to 7 o'clock.
So
We have
Mark,
a date. We don't have anything else.
yeah, Alex will be getting that, and there'll be a live website with, opportunities for online feedback and stuff that's going to launch, I think, March 15th, because we're going to roll out. We just got all the CAC meetings with ODOT today. So one thing I was just going to say quickly, in listening to this conversation, what I'm hearing is, I think, Chris, we can come up with a statement, a community statement that talks about, to Lynn's point, an annual state of the roads report that would go to the NESCO and CAC on an annual basis, that has the charts and everything on it so that we can share those road status updates. What do you guys think about that? Because that can definitely go in the community plan.
So Sarah,
Uh-huh.
one of the things, if there were an annual or every 2 years plan,
Right.
transportation plan for a community the size of Nescoin, the fastest way to get it out is to either send a notice to property owners.
Mhm.
This kind of going through things has some shortcomings because people may not be paying attention to one thing and they're paying attention to another. But to me, it's like if the county has the ability to ping people and say, look, there's a transportation plan affecting your area, go on our website and find it, and here's our public meetings. I think the public meeting distribution part of this needs to be, the people that you use your property tax roll, use your voter roll, but because email makes all that so easy.
Well, and I would say there's not that schedule, Lynn. So what I'm talking about specifically, like, this type of work is only done, like the transportation system plan updates, when we get a grant and there's staff available, right?
Okay.
So,
Then
I'm thinking about what like the public works director or somebody comes to the CAC, to your point about sharing that countywide information that would include any relevant updates to the community.
Tom, have you still?
Yeah, I still want to talk, and I'm just
Okay,
time.
thank you.
Couple of things. The question I asked before, I'll ask again. What is appropriate for our document? What needs to go away? And if so, where does it go?
Mhm.
I've heard, to my mind, a couple of things that push me in both directions. Yes, you can have this transportation-ish thing in the document, but no, you shouldn't have it in the document. So I'm a little bit conflicted. Also, we don't have consensus from the subcommittee on what that statement should be. We have not reviewed it. Personally, I have some things I'd like to change. I know that there is at least two other views existent in the document right now.
Yeah.
So we are not ready to say what it is we want to say. But when we are ready, what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Well, we should do the work with the statements that we have to make them
I don't want to
relevant.
spend time on something which is not going to stay in the document.
Oh,
My
okay,
time is limited.
right.
But I
I,
think, didn't Sarah say she was going to get back to us, Tom, with, she wanted to take what Rand did
Yeah.
and give us some
what Rand
recommendations.
did is not consensus. What Rand is an opinion of three that I can think of, four including me. So that's not viable.
But but I guess what I was wondering is if tonight we could quickly go over Rand's thing and
Yeah.
say, okay, here's what we're all comfortable giving to Sarah. Then
Mhm.
she'll get back to us for where it goes.
Mhm.
I think
I like.
that's the issue is where does it'll go in the plan, where
Mhm.
in the plan and how it's
That's
labeled.
not what I heard. I heard some of it does not belong in the plan.
Well,
Right.
some of it doesn't belong in the legal land use document,
Right.
but there are other things with
Working on
vision
that's
and
the document. Now,
that's
if it
not the
is,
whole document.
oh,
I think what would be helpful for Chris and I, going off of what Tom's talking about, is if we and what Lynn's talking about is if we could get consensus from the group, just what on in this document everyone feels is relevant, and that gives us a starting point to do our work, and hopefully the education and the information Chris has provided this afternoon helps now inform that piece of the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think we'll sort this out tonight. I think what we have gained is a better perspective on what needs to go. I'm not sure where, but what needs to be
yeah.
included specifically in this part of the document, that we may have a better perspective on how to edit this part of the document. And Sarah's got the document as it is. She can help parse that out for where she thinks we're going to, how it can be useful. But I think it's up to us to, chop the thing up that I provided and clarify it if it's too specific or what platitude we want to put in there instead of what I said.
Well, I mean, there are statements already in the document in R35 which cover those same areas. And it's not clear to me exactly where the overlap is and if there is an overlap. Let me share the screen. This is just a kind of a mechanical thing. But since here is this area on street maintenance, we've got comments, we've got proposed text, we have moved text. What do we do with it?
It's kind of off center right now, Tom, and to see.
Uh, what do you want me to do?
Shift it to your left so the
Uh,
text is on the screen rather than the split. It's half and half. Maybe
I actually see it in the center. It just needs to be.
like 30, the numbers on the lines are in the center of our screens. Oh,
So
I'm able to move it over, just grab it and move it over. So maybe it was where my screen was.
okay.
so I think what would be helpful for Chris and I is to hear the committee's dialogue on this section, if that's something that everyone's prepared to do, so that we can take this and then do our work.
Okay.
Because to Tom's point of not knowing what should stay or what should go, I think I think if I think I think understanding with the work that's been written, and now again, hearing from Chris a little bit more of the deeper understanding of how Public Works operates, how does the committee feel about this work, and are there any paragraphs that you think should stay or that should be omitted? Then that gives Chris and I a starting point.
Okay.
For instance, this statement right here, Tillamook Public Works did not have adequate funding. I don't think we want to put that in a document.
But what we should recognize in the document that the county has said they're not going to maintain our local access roads.
But that's a new thing, yeah. But that bald-faced statement
And if that the base
as
added,
became
but they don't
appropriate.
have they don't have the money to do it. So I guess we can take out the fact they don't have the money. But the fact is they will not maintain our local access roads.
Okay.
Yeah, by board order, we are not authorized to maintain local access roads.
Yeah, you weren't there for that, guy. He
I'm
did
sorry.
he mentioned that specifically.
Mhm.
But Chris, I'm wondering if we could get them a map of the community that has the color coded, what's local access, what's county maintained, and maybe we help put that statement together that talks about just the maintenance itself. And it doesn't have to be elaborate, but to Guy's point, just something that informs the community. And then we have a map that can be part of the community plan for community members to
That'd be
reference.
good.
What do you guys think about that?
Good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Tom, I apologize, but most of the information I've put in here has to do with limited to the extent of which I know is true about our situation. And that is only to guide us then to say, okay, well, if these are the limitations, what do we recommend? And we got a lot more information from Chris about what the limitations are, but also what the focus areas are that do get done. And it's we have a better perspective than we had because we were limited to our expertise, which is not deep. Nancy, you have a
Yeah, thank you for letting me interject as a visitor. I'm wondering, the plan is to kind of have goals too. Is there any chance at all that no, this is naive, but that the financial situation of the county could improve, where the goal would be that Tillamook County would maintain our roads, but in the meantime, we have this statement about this is the kind of thing we can do in the meantime to support the county and support the needs of Nisqually,
So,
but not give up. Actually, that at some
right.
point we'd like the county to do take responsibility
But
financially as well.
but isn't it true that the county, and this is probably a county commissioner discussion, this is probably not even related to the community plan directly, that the county commissioners serve at the pleasure of the voters. And if the voters said, gosh, we didn't understand this was so bad and was never going to get any better, and so we'd now like you to stop doing X and start doing Y. I mean, that is absolutely an option. I don't, the county said, don't do those roads. That tells Chris what to do. But the voters tell the county commissioners what to do, either through an election or direct appeal. But to me, there's a way to have a civilized discussion of this, which is there is not enough money now, given what's going on. There may be money in the future. There may be other priorities that can be set aside by the county to make this happen. I don't know what they are, but it is still true that this funding at the state and local level, I can't speak for the feds, but it's driven by the people of Oregon is who decides. And there are federal laws requiring us to do certain things, but at the end of the day, the people of Oregon elect people to implement their will, and that's as old as 250 years or 1859 at least. So we've never talked to the county commissioners. I've never talked to county commissioners. What I've learned today with Chris's great map and with the picture is kind of, gee, it would be really interesting to hear what they have to say. Is this always going to be the case? Do we need to be building infrastructure? Should we privatize some of the infrastructure because you guys aren't going to be doing it anymore? There's all kinds of questions. They're probably most appropriate place to the county commissioners, maybe the county council, and Chris could be there for all of his wisdom, which is epic. So just a point. We're in charge here. This is a democracy until it's totally gone. And I don't believe in just saying, well, the county said we can't do it. I mean, we are the county with all due respect.
Well, and getting more word out about the financial situation. I know they tried with the tax, and it's too bad that the tax failed last year. But maybe getting this word out would help change people's opinions too about being willing to pass a future tax.
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know, but having the goal of having the county have enough funding to handle the roads, it seems like could be in there with the backup plan of maybe doing a tax
So
thing.
of the 368 miles of road, only 14 miles are local access road that we don't touch. The biggest thing that can be done is to, at the state level, change the distribution of the transient lodging tax.
Right. Yeah, I heard that loud and clear. So support Javity's pitch, and that's about all we can do, I guess. Or probably Gomberg too we'd encourage him as our ex guy and the guy next district down to support it.
And and I interrupted just briefly, in the chat list, and I saw Nancy, your thing, but I put a link into a GIS maps, so you can go on anytime and look at the local access road versus county maintained roads. So
Great.
it'll pop up. You just want to scroll down to where it says county roads and click on that box.
Thank you, Chris. I don't know if you'd be willing or interested to come in February to our membership meeting and do a short presentation.
Possibly my kid's going to be in town that day from Portland, and I'm not going to commit yet, but maybe here shortly I will.
Because our next membership meeting would be after your Nesquin Roads meeting, but in the meantime, we could have, maybe Sarah or Alex or Chair could talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And thank you, Chris. I think you're doing an awesome job.
I would say in Tom's document, the next paragraph, 29 and down, I think that would be something else that we should have Chris help us reword a bit, just to his point also about how, he really works within the limitations that he's got to partner and provide resources and materials. But I think we want to be mindful about how that's worded and what that looks like.
So I'll ask in a little different way. What's our action plan for updating the document?
Well, I'm mm, I've done some of this stuff previously. I know more now. I know Guy has said he stated right here, I'd be in favor of a general statement recommendation that the community explore ways to maintain its roads at the central core, including a road district, not a road association, was clarified earlier, Guy. I don't know if you were here. Maybe we just table this till I can get a little more information and make this more clear. I don't know. I haven't seen too much input from other committee members on road maintenance besides saying that they didn't agree with what I said. So
I think we have more clarity than when we got your thing, Ran, and I will oppose any recommendation of a road district without a more thorough vetting of the issue and the various avenues to solving the issues we see.
Well,
but that's just me.
Well, I'm just addressing something that's in the statement now that is more towards a generalization as opposed to all these specifics. So
in terms of moving forward, Rand, it seems that as a committee, I feel the need to kind of go start at the beginning of the document, paragraph by paragraph. Let's all agree on what the language is. I think that's one piece of it. as I understand the document, the legal requirements and addressing the policies, we have to stay within the land use goals of the state and therefore the county. So anything that's outside of goal 1 for up to goal 19 minus goal 16, we have anything that addresses any of those things can stay in the main part of the document that we're required to respond to. Anything else other than that, for instance, in my brain, I can't remember if public safety is within goal anywhere in goal 1 to goal 19, but if
Yes,
it's
it
not,
is.
okay.
It's
And
I'm
then,
looking it up. Keep going.
but
so it
if there is something that's specific that's not, it goes into a part of a document that is general recommendations separate from
So
the
you're talking about
requirement piece.
redoing the document once again, starting from the
Can I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This is
Time out.
Can I jump in, please? I feel like this is where I can help everyone, considering this document will live in community development, and I am taking it forward. I sense and understand Tom's frustrations. Lynn, the goal is goal 11, and it's public facilities and services.
Got
There's
it.
policies within the county's comp plan already that this document must be consistent with. I appreciate Guy's thoughts of going through it. What I would say is understanding public works and the role Chris and I play in that from the transportation policy piece
Sure.
is let us take all of the red and green and the things that Randall has put together and based on the feedback tonight, give you something for next month.
Sure, that's
Would you
fine.
like,
I'm not even gonna give it to you to put in a document. I think we're gonna do a separate white paper that you guys can respond to, tell us what you like, what you hate. And once we get through that, then we give it to Tom to plug in to help save his sanity and to quit doing repetition of work.
But it makes sense for the transportation piece, no
Okay.
question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Lori? We can't hear you, Lori. Oh, no, you can't.
Just a minute.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, you're kind of not there.
Yours being so there. How about now?
That's better. Oh, you disappeared again. And I'm not sure it's going to work, Lori.
Now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a question, and I had to step away for a minute because I was getting a delivery, so I might have missed it. But on line 16 on the screen right now, where it says the village is dependent on, quote, skinny streets, unquote, for connections. I think people who aren't part of the transportation industry have one idea of what those words mean in just a layman's term and might have a different definition of that in the transportation industry. And I'm just curious if we can leave those words in there as words that the community kind of understands that don't have a specific definition, or if we need to find different words to describe what we mean.
I would use the term narrow roads.
Yeah.
Narrow roads.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chris, I have that on our list. So that's one of the things you and I haven't gotten to yet in looking at this. But because the other thing is there's the land division ordinance that explicitly states what road widths have to be for new roads, right? So we've got this hybrid of these policies to address existing roads and then any new roads. And we have to figure out how they fit within the like ASHTO framework, as well as the land division ordinance, any variance process for road width. And so, Lori, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think we can find a way, Chris, to tie in the community in terms of skinny streets. I think one of the questions for the general membership is, does the community still feel that plan policy is relevant? Does the community still want skinny streets? Because that was the plan policy from before, right, Lori, as well?
Right. And I think that and this is just anecdotal, but everybody that I've talked to has said, we don't want them widening our streets. We don't want them putting in sidewalks, but we want to feel safe walking down the middle of the street with our kids on their bikes. And I understand that's not the normal transportation philosophy. And so I think because of that, the skinny streets concept feels comforting to people because that's the best that they've come up with to describe that they like it the way that it is, but they want it to be as safe as possible. So, but I also have heard in the past that that was a problem for transportation professionals because skinny streets had a certain definition, and that was not really what Nesquin was or is. So anyway, that was one question I have. The other one is, and it's not here on the street maintenance, but it has to do with transportation. I know Rand is very in favor of the concept of turning the tsunami egress road into a open road for transportation one way. And I personally don't agree with that. And I don't think that's been a discussion that's been had with the community. I don't think we can give a consensus at this point agreement that that's what Nesquin wants. And I'm not quite sure where in the process to put that, if we should put something in the community plan that says something like transportation flow needs to be considered with options discussed about a one-way north and a one-way south route, and that egress mode might be put in the mix, or I don't know exactly how to solve that, or if we even haven't enough information yet. But I definitely don't think you can say that that's a consensus decision at this point. And I'm still a little unclear in my mind when we put this plan out for community discussion, if we're saying this is the plan, we want you to approve it, or these are our ideas and we want you to debate them and change them.
My
And
understanding is the latter.
Right. It's
so
debatable.
do we put all of the different possibilities out there and say
Well, I think
these are
we've,
possibilities for the future to have community input on, or we're going to try to come up with a kind of winner of the suggestions during this process.
well, in the transportation area, these guys are going to go digest what we've thrown out here and help us come back with a document that helps answer those questions. But I do believe we can put some recommendations out there and then see if we get support for them. And that's not clear what those are right now. I think that's accurate.
We're giving it our best shot, and we'll see whether or not people will agree or not. That's
Right. But
Good.
for this area, we're going to wait till we get feedback from Sarah and Chris, so that we have a better perspective on what goes where, because I don't think we have that yet.
I guess where I was coming from with that is, to me, that was something new that popped up in the plan. I don't remember it being discussed at any of the community meetings so far. And the vast majority of the things that we have in the plan so far, we've had discussion about, and pretty solid, very solid, and as far as I'm concerned, very solid community support. Like, to me, there's very little that we have in the plan so far that's controversial. Like, I could see it being pretty much passed as is, though I know Tom disagrees with that after his experience with
I
the
don't.
bylaws.
Well,
Um,
that's a little different, but yes, there is always the danger that we may be blindsided, just like we were.
yeah, yeah.
In the bylaws, right?
But this
Well,
thing
Chris
about closing
said,
and opening roads, that's a controversial thing. Like, I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up and emphasizing is that I think it's one of the first things that we have said in writing in the plan that hasn't been discussed and is quite controversial.
That's the egress road.
Yeah, being
So
turned
Chris,
back into a
Chris
road.
addressed that
Chris-
earlier, I thought.
Yeah. Chris, I may have missed it, but my
That's
response to earlier in an earlier meeting was one, that we got state funding for a specific use, $1 million of that. I mean, the grant monies from Fish and Wildlife or whatever we could fool with, but the state gave us $1 million for a specific use. Two, that road was not built for regular traffic. I mean, my brain goes right away, you're the engineer, but you've got drop-offs on both either end. That's not going to be unacceptable for cars to drive over that road in the current condition. But that's why, I mean, fire trucks is one thing, emergency is another, but is another thing. But for regular traffic, I could see guardrails or whatever up and down the sides and maybe even more so. But I don't know. Have you already spoken to that about that road?
my comment on that is I encourage people to bring that to the transportation system plan on
Okay.
April 8th.
Oh, you really think it's an open issue? It could be an open issue.
Yeah, so it was requested from CRAC being the County Roadway Advisory Committee. I did not come up with that acronym, but it was requested for CRAC, and the CRAC says, let's run through the transportation system plan and see what comes out of that, because it was DOT money, it was ODOT money through the egress route, and it was disingenuous, is what one of the terms were, to let's a year after we opened it up to convert it to one way.
Yeah.
So going through this ODOT process through the TSP is that, there's an argument in either direction for that to go. So I think I've thrown it out there, talk about it, the TSP, Transportation System Plan, and we'll move on.
Wow.
Right. So Lori, to your question, that is the arena to have that conversation. If that's something the community desires, is it would actually be through the TSP process. But I agree with you on everything that you said. I think a lot of this is solid work. I don't think a lot of it's controversial, but there's going to be a few pain points, and this is one of them. So then the question is, what arena does it belong to for those larger community conversations?
Well, it should be a CAC. Who's on that committee from NESCO?
But whether it's the community plan conversation or the TSP conversation, and I think it belongs in the TSP.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Guy, I gotta look and see, because I've been searching my emails to try to find the stakeholder
But
group.
even separate from the ODOT thing about the county crack team.
Correct. So
who's on crack in NESCO?
Do you have anybody from the
Name.
I'll grab it here in just a second. There are three. It's represented by three people from North County, three from Central, and three from North. The one in South County that I know just off the top of my head is Ann Rice, and Barbara Oftemeyer is also she's either Central or South. But I'll be right back and I'll tell you exactly who it is.
Yeah, but no one from NESCO yet. Okay.
And Chris, are you able to join us on the 7th?
Yes, I can join you on the 7th. So
Okay.
be right.
All right. So as a matter of practicality, we're going to suspend review of pages 14 through 18.
Yeah.
I believe that's the range. And awaiting disposition on that.
Transportation issues.
Yeah.
And when's our
believe so.
next meeting?
Let's see.
Is it the 9th of February? Or did we move it? I don't have.
I kind of can't get through there.
I have it the 9th of February and the 23rd of February.
And I won't be here on the 9th, but I'll be traveling, but I will review whatever's sent out and get comments to Tom and Rand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we will be looking for comments on things which are other than pages 14 through 18.
Yes.
Which does include the executive summary changes and as well as the introduction.
Tom, you don't feel a need to go through and and accept some of these recommended changes and things like,
Yes,
I mean,
I do. I do. I very much
why,
want.
my thought was if we take one meeting and let's separate from those transportation pages to go through the document and either yay or nay on some of the recommendations and language changes and all that
I
to
have
do
been
that.
trying to do that for 6 months.
Yeah. I
We
think our next
we have
meeting,
we have we have some success at doing that.
I think we should, again, I'll go back to my thing. Let's start with page one and anything that's accept and reject, not try to edit other things, just what the recommendations and for change and new language and whatever has been that Tom's
Okay?
still got hanging out there with no decision on. Let's
Here's
go
the,
through.
here's the choir you're speaking to.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I agree with Lori that we're 99% there, and I've let everything that used to maybe push a button for me, I just let it go. We're close enough, we're good enough, and by gosh, I think people will be happy.
I
Yeah.
disagree that we're 99% there because
I
there
know, I
are
just said
no,
that.
just sec. There are two sections which are very sketchy,
Yep.
and
Well,
and our own.
but they can come out, right? I mean, if we
No,
don't have
talking
anything
about.
to say, we don't need to say it.
Okay, we're not going to have anything on resilience then, and we're not going to have anything on safety and persons and property. Is that what you're saying?
I'm
Because
No,
not
those are
advocating that. I'm saying if no one gets any language in on those, then that's what will happen.
I
And
think
so,
resilience is
we
mine. Yeah.
we have some language. We have statements that are not supported.
right.
Yeah.
Now we can either delete those. Happy to do that. Easy. I actually know how to do that. Or we can expand those. If they're important, they should be expanded. If they're not important, they should be deleted.
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, that's not done. What's on the screen right now is not done.
Start with page one and let's go through and take out all
No,
the, you know,
let's do, as you said, let's look at the changes and
yeah,
either
that's
accept,
exactly.
no,
Yeah.
but then we go directly to things which are incomplete.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's any changes that are still hanging on page one. I just said page one, but whatever
Yeah,
the first page of changes is, that's where we
yeah.
start.
Pages, as I tried to say earlier, the introduction I did rewrite because we have a different document than we had. And and so, and the overview, that's been rewritten, that should be reviewed.
Okay, so I think I've said this 50 times. Let's look at the document and uh, make some study of it before the meeting so that we're prepared to say, we don't need this section, we need this section, and I've added the sentence to clarify what this means. All those things, those guys rubbing his eyes like
Oh,
going,
you can see me? I thought I was
yeah, you better get off the screen. Anyway, if we want to do that, we need to be prepared when we come to the meeting, not try to figure it out during the meeting. You
Right.
gotta,
So the last time that I went through the whole document, all the stuff that I thought was just really critical that wasn't edited again recently, I got out there. And so to me, it's perfect. I'm not going to be here on the 9th. So you guys
okay.
go through the whole document. I'm going to be happy with sections come out because I was happy last summer, right? When we were darn close to being done. And and I think given that we're going to hand this document off to the CAC, and my guess is they're going to edit it more, and my guess is if we release it to the community in draft form, there will be more edits.
Right.
I'm kind of there. So I think you can use that meeting I'm gone and I'm not sending any small edits in anymore at all because there's only so many times you can review this stuff.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I'm hoping that's true. But it seems like we're not there yet. So yeah, it was a little shocking to me when Tom said no one sent in any edits because there were assignments assigned last meeting that if nobody edited, they didn't do their homework. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Do we have those assignments? I can't. Are they?
Well, they were in Tom's document that when he sent out the email, he articulated what the assignments
That
were.
was
Right.
in our 30, beginning R34. I don't think I included it with R35.
35.
And
Okay.
to my records from my email file, I am completed on all assignments.
I'm not.
I have nothing outstanding.
Okay.
Tom,
Well,
could you resend that punch list with the assignments?
I will, and I'll also include uh, things like the single statement here. Either we get somebody to sign up for it or it goes away.
signage supporting non-vehicle uses.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and I would
Speed
be
control
careful.
structure.
I would be careful with signage, speed control structures, any of that stuff should Chris Lady should look at, because there's actually transportation rule that dictates that, where they can go, how many signs. Those of you that were part of the tsunami wayfinding effort to install those signs found that out. We had several meetings about that.
mm-hmm.
So I would say any of that
How
stuff.
about,
I
how about if I send you that list and you can delete to your heart's content?
Yes. And I did volunteer Chris and I with a deliverable date to you guys by February 16th. So the meeting on the 23rd,
Okay.
we could go through whatever he and I put together so you guys can react and respond to that.
Great. Thank you.
So I don't know if he's still on here, but we'll get it
Yeah,
done. We'll
good.
figure it out. Okay.
Okay, well, we'll send you the minutes of the meeting. They will include that. I don't know who's going to read page 14 of the document, but okay. So we
Yeah.
are at time. We have 4 minutes. And I think we got to the assignments there. We're going to have a reminder sent out by Tom as to the last assignments set. So please look at that and see if you do have something outstanding you're not aware of. And
Are there community comments?
how do we, Nancy or Christy, do you have comments?
I'll just say thank you guys for all the work that you're doing. This has been so interesting and helpful. And I know it's a ton of work and can be frustrating, but it's really going to be worth it when it's done. And thank you all.
Okay, thank you. And Christy, we haven't heard from you, but if you have a comment, we're open to hearing from you. So we didn't hear from her. So I will thank you, and I will look forward to getting information, and really appreciate Sarah and Chris's input tonight. It was very illuminating for me as a clunky, soft road expert on this subject. I feel very educated.
Good.
And
I should
appreciate that.
mention my deliverables will be delayed for a few days. I have other deadlines that I have to satisfy. So once I get the my newsletter out, then I'll be able to do this.
Okay. All right. Understood. And thank you again and always, Tom. And I'm sorry it's been not a little, it's been frustrating for you to understand what we're doing and when and how. So,
It's the nature of being an editor.
yeah,
All
editor's
editors,
job is
it's
not
part of the
easy.
definition of the job.
Yes, that is
Oh,
true.
we can still show empathy.
We can, but he's an editor and he's got the whip in hand and
That's
I will,
right.
and I will occasionally rant.
Okay, well, that's
yes, as a
okay.
good editor will.
Yes, and I get that from many quarters and appreciate ranting. Okay, thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the next show.
Thanks
And
for having me, and I will see some of you on the 7th.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
And
you.
Thanks,
good
Chris.
evening to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. End recording, where's that? Come on. My screen got minimized. Where's end recording? All the stuff on the bottom disappeared. Jeez. Let's see, I'm gonna cancel that, go back to AI tool, stop AI, stop and stop recording.